Welcome to the Ideal Investor Show. This is the podcast where we help you challenge your mindset and discover where you are. Tired of stories about other people's success? We can help you change your life, determine your time freedom point, and join us on the journey to financial success. Let's go. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ideal Investor Show, where we bring you interesting people with interesting backgrounds and interesting stories to help you with your investing, with your perspective, with how you actually go on the journey to early retirement. And today we have a dear friend and wonderful guest in that specific category, and that is Carmen Ballesteros. Carmen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Axel. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited. And as you know, it took us a while to finally come together, even though we are actually physically only like 30, 40 miles apart or something like that. So I'm excited too. Before we get into all the details and the things that we want to talk about, tell our audience a little bit, who is Carmen? What is Carmen's background history? And how did you get to where you are today?
All right. Carmen is a complex person, to be honest. Right. So I studied business, and all my life, my professional life was all around communication. So I was an event manager for 5 years. Then I was working in institutional communication as well. All of it was around how people can connect with each other through communication, events, or on a one-on-one basis. Because after my business and my international cooperation background, I went through this another rabbit hole, the anthropology. And I was working in some social projects, and I was in the Ministry of Social Development in South America. So that was more or less my journey. And then when I decided to start working online, I thought, okay, how can I bring everything I've done all my life? I was helping people create their business, especially in vulnerable backgrounds. How can I bring all of this online? So I decided to start my online journey, and I found how different it was. So I had to relearn. I got my coaching certification, my community management certification. And even with all that, when I went to post for the first time, I realized that I didn't know anything about online writing. I only knew about academic writing. So that got me started again, learning something new. And that's been my journey. And now what I do is I help people.
Okay, yeah, that's very good. And I think that's a very important service that you're providing. And for the audience, if you ask yourself, how did Carmen and I to get to know each other, speaking about online writing, before I knew Carmen, I actually got to know somebody named Tom Kükler. And then he notified me and said, hey, I know that people also, exactly like you just said, Carmen, struggle with posting online, and I want to do what I call a LinkedIn sprint. At the time, I think he had already done a bunch, but I decided, okay, 2 weeks learning how to do this. And that's where you were as well, supporting him in the LinkedIn sprint and helping other people learn how to communicate online. So that's how we got to know each other. Now, there is a generational difference. Did you know this already when you decided this is what my business is going to be, or how did you make that transition from kind of missionary work into a businesswoman, so to speak?
Right. So in my case, I'm an extrovert. I love meeting people, but somehow I felt this fear online that even if, I don't know, by mistake, I was just scrolling with my phone and I clicked on like one post, I would like, oh my God, they're going to see me. I just wanted to be invisible. That was my journey, like for years, to be a lurker. And then, but that's a problem when you want to start online, of course. So I knew as a fact that I had to beat that fear, which nobody told me how to do. Even after being a community manager, a coach, and whatever, nobody was addressing that. So I wrote on, there was this Facebook group in one coaching group I was doing, and there were like 400 people there. And we made small groups around it. And so I had this little group where we were just in Messenger talking to each other. And then one day I wrote saying, you know what? I realized that I've been hiding. I've been using this typical excuse, which is I'm doing this course. And as soon as I finish it, I'm going to put myself out there. But right before I finish, oh, look at this other course. All right, I'm going to do this. And once I'm finished, I'm going to do. And then I was just linking one course after another. And I said, I realized that I'm using learning as an excuse not to put myself out there.
Right.
So, and I call it, I gave it a name, the eternal student syndrome. So I was about to post that on the group where I was committing myself to put myself out there. When I realized I had this moment of clarity that I realized I was doing exactly what I was always doing. I was going to my comfort zone to say, hey, I promise I will commit. In the last second, instead of posting there, I went to the wall of that Facebook group and posted that. And I started shaking. So I just wanted to delete that post. But I had to go to work because in that moment, in the transition to the online work, I was still doing my offline work. And what I did was switching off my phone because the temptation was too big. And I left it at home and I went to work. Imagine my tension that day. I think I lost like 3 pounds out of anxiety. So when I came back home, I turned on my phone and I was hoping that nobody had seen it. And what happened was it had gone viral inside the group. And I was declared, all of a sudden I was a top voice. I don't know how many comments of people saying, thank you, I needed to read this today. And that was my before and after. Because it wasn't only for the love I received in that message, it was how many people were struggling with the same, and some of them didn't even know it. And thanks that I wrote that, it made them reflect on their own realities. And that's the power of content creation. So I joined Medium and I wrote an article. And because I was committed with a friend that I do something uncomfortable, I sent that article to the startup, which if you write on Medium, you know, is the biggest publication there, 800,000 followers and whatnot. So I sent them my first article. I couldn't believe it. They accepted it. And not only that, but it became top article. It went to their newsletter. It was in the top 10 of the month. I had beginner's luck, I have to admit that. After that, I had so much silence and crickets and whatever, but it was a great way to start. And that's where I met Tom as you, because he was a top writer there. I joined his Medium course and his LinkedIn course. And then Tom started this LinkedIn sprint on LinkedIn for free. It was the first edition. He was just saying, I want to create a community of creators on LinkedIn. And I said, oh my God, me, because I was feeling so lonely in this journey. And not only lonely because it's a really lonely road to be a creator, but also I was writing in English. Like not even my mom could like my things. Like I was starting from zero.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, I need this. So he did this sprint and it was a month and we were 43 creators. And I started spending 5 hours a day on LinkedIn, just commenting because I had all these fears as well. You know, like, is my English good enough? So I was using the translator all the time. I would take ages to write a comment. I still had to struggle with my lurking things, you know, like my fears.
Right.
But Tom loved it. And then he invited me to be a coach in the next edition. And I was a coach in the sprint for, I don't know how many editions, but many. So I ended up helping hundreds of people. But the beauty of that is that Tom is 11 years younger than me.
Yeah, don't even get me started.
I know, but he could be my little brother. But between us, there's this generational gap because he was a teenager with all this social media, where I got Facebook when I was 26. And that was the crucial difference. So the first time one person came to us, one student, and said, oh my God, somebody shared my video. It was this guy from this country. Blah. And Tom was like, well, perfect. And I was just laughing because I remember exactly the two people that shared my first video, a Japanese guy, a guy from New Zealand. Are they dangerous? Like, why are they like lurking on me? Why are they sharing my video to their connections? Are they going to kidnap me? Like so many fears and looked in that moment. So I was just laughing because now I think like repost is a great thing, but in that moment, that was so scary. So Tom couldn't understand that. And we had many conversations saying it to make him understand that I could feel their fears. And it was just this generational gap.
Yeah,
So that's
absolutely.
how I
I mean,
started with.
yeah, I think that's a great explanation. I started using in a joking way after I realized, like I have a daughter who was born in 1987. She obviously grew up with all the devices and stuff like that. But what I realized when I did get a text message or get some kind of message, similar to I had started learning how to type on a typewriter, because when I went to school, that tells you like I'm ancient, right? Like I might not necessarily look like I'm 90, but I'm ancient. So phones came out with a touch screen that is still, I'm holding the phone, I take my one typey finger and type. And I saw my daughter and she held the phone like this and her thumbs were going like a million hits a mile. So that I was just reminded when you mentioned that. Now, one thing I want to also touch on, and you gave that into your preparation notes for this show today. And excuse me, and I was very, very fascinated when we were together in these sprints. This unbelievable ability to tell stories without going pages and pages and pages. Can you tell a little bit how you developed that and kind of maybe reveal what the trick is?
Oh, the trick is practice. My first article was 11 pages long.
Okay.
I'm not kidding here because I used to write as I speak. And so it felt really conversational. And people that read it and knew me, they were like, oh my God, it was just like having you in front of me. But I had to learn, okay, I started a different journey as well, which is copywriting, which I used to believe that it was the rights of the author. But no, there is copywriting and copywriting, which with my foreign accent is kind of basically the same. But it's about writing copy, and writing copy is all the text is basically persuasive writing. And there's nothing less appealing than a block of text, especially when we look at it in a small screen. We just lost the words. We don't have references. Now, what happens? I realize that although I am the same person, when I sit down on my sofa to watch a TV show or a movie, I can spend like 2 hours enjoying the show. But when I am on my day working or even when I'm relaxing, whatever, somebody sends me a video on WhatsApp and I click on that. And after 15 seconds, more or less, I tap the screen to check how long it's going to be. And I found that everybody does the same. Yes. And it's like, am I losing my attention span? Why I am the same person that tonight can spend 2 hours watching this movie, and here I'm getting anxiety because this video is 1 minute long. And the truth is, our mindset and our actions change a lot when we are on our phone, because no matter how big they made it, the phones are not a comfortable device for us. Phone equals, I'm in a hurry and solving things. I want to just, I don't know, satisfy my need for connection. And I scroll, oh, I have this message, I answer, and I go, sorry, I belong to the 80s. So I'm doing this. So I reply and I go, or what's the latest news? And I just scroll, satisfy my curiosity, gone. That's what I do on my phone. And that's where most people are checking social platforms. It is difficult to find people that stops and open the computer only to check their Facebook or LinkedIn. That's a generational thing too. Older people do that, but also workers. If you're working in your office, you can have, well, depending on how strict the policies are, but you have your tab open with LinkedIn or Facebook, and then you just scroll a little bit and continue your work. But what I'm saying is social media equals rush, hurry. When you're telling a story, it's not the same writing your novel. Because if you picture this, when are you going to be reading a book? You're going to be reading your book right before you're going to bed, or when you are on holiday, or it's going to be this lovely pleasure on a Sunday morning with your coffee and your book, and you hate Kindles because they are virtual and you love your paper book, but you also find them really practical because you can just take them with you everywhere. So storytelling and copywriting online, that goes to reduce everything to the bare bones. So one line makes you want to read the next line, that makes you want to read the next line. And you have to be really conscious about your words and your counting words and everything. But I still love my long format, the articles.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, I also asked you the storytelling because I want to kind of find an arc a little bit to what does this all have to do with business and real estate and investing. Because one of the stories during one of the sprints, I think I participated in like 3 sprints or something like that. And I'm constantly in Tom's program, so I forget how many we have been doing. But in one of the sprints, you were actually telling this completely amazing story about spies looking after your house and stuff like that. So without necessarily going through all of the little details, but I would like to kind of hook in a little bit into that situation. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think I remember from the story that you said you were kind of in the situation of being a tenant from a real estate perspective, being just about ready to get married, and also in that general space, becoming a business owner. So can you talk a little bit about how situation and experience was as a tenant and what happened then and how the spy plays a role and a little bit of that?
I think when I shared that story for the reader, one was always have a B plan. And second, no matter what you do in life, it always mounts up to the person you are today. So my wedding was kind of like a summary of everything I did in my previous life. We got married right after the high season. So I was organizing the wedding in the distance. I actually saw the villa where we got married 4 days before the wedding. Yeah, that was as crazy as it sounds. Now, what happened was we were living in a house. As I said, it's a touristic area. And the problem here is that people buy their second residencies as an investment. So as soon as things don't go as they planned, they sell the house. That meant that we had to live in 3 places in 4 years, which was crazy for us. And it was difficult to rent a place because in summer, they were getting so much money that they were like, okay, I rent it to you in winter, and then in summer you have to leave the house. It was like, no, please, like I need to live here. We finally found this house, amazing house of this lady saying, no, I don't want to rent this to anybody, and I'm going to retire in 5 years. So you can just stay there. And it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But she gave us a little bit of an abusive condition, which was pay 6 months in advance. And then in 6 months, you pay another 6 months in advance. Now the house needed some fixing. And she said, you do them. And then in 6 months, you give me the invoices and I'll discount that for your next rent. We took them, the conditions, because we were a little bit desperate. The 6 months were approaching, and then she came and she did everything that a landlady cannot do. She entered our house without permission. She came saying that she was going to increase our rent 30% after 6 months to make sure she didn't have to pay for all the things that we had done in the house. And when we said no, and when we said that was absolutely illegal, she said, okay, be ready because I'm coming with the police to get you out of the house. And I said, okay, well, try, of course. She couldn't. It was absolutely illegal what she was doing. But we were getting married in a week or so. And she was here, Indian lady living in the UK, and she came here just to get her money. We were even considering canceling the wedding. How could we leave our house in the hands of a person that already broke in? Enter the spy. She was really scary and a really nice person. So I asked her if she could check on the house, and she said, no worries, I'll move there while you're away. And she kind of likes this comfort because she said like comfortable makes you soft. So she refused to sleep in the bed, and she slept on the sofa with a direct look to the window, to the main window, close to the door. And she had the camera, and I'm sure she had a gun or a knife under her sofa. Like she was ready for anything. So yeah, the landlady tried to enter while we were in Italy, and our wonderful spy got her out. And that landlady went to a bar asking for help. Where can I sleep tonight? Because she thought we were already out of the house. She didn't understand in her twisted mind that there was no way that we were leaving, especially after paying our rent. So she went to a bar asking for the neighbors' compassion, but everybody had a story with her. So nobody wanted to help her. And she ended up having to take a taxi midnight to go and find a hotel. So that was the story. And in Italy, receiving the messages from the spy saying, landlady aborted, operation finished.
That was cool. And then I guess you decided, okay, living for rent is maybe not the best way to go, right?
No, actually, our wedding was in October. This all happened in October, and we bought our house in December.
And now that you're homeowners, I'm assuming you're much happier, right?
I never thought I would buy a house because I love traveling. My husband does as well. We've been backpacking around the world. We both have lived in different continents. Like for us, buying a house meant be tied up to one place. But until we found how difficult it was in an area that is touristic to live, to be spell of your house over and over, not to be long, that was the moment that we decided, okay, let's do it. And most people spend their money from the wedding in a nice honeymoon. And we didn't ask for anything, but people kept wanting to give us a present. So they gave us money to travel. And we said, no, we want that money to be in something that we can see every day and enjoy every day. So we use that as a first payment for the house. So this house is actually our wedding present. Well, partially, of course. And it's really nice to feel that you have a place in the world that you can call home. Now we still travel, we still move to other places, but it's really nice to know that there's a corner in the world that you can call yours and you can come back to.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And that nobody is going to come and wanting to collect rent or any stuff like that. Okay, very good. Now, I hope at least for the audience, you got a little bit of a glimpse of this amazing talent that Carmen has on telling a story. And if you want to read the original story, you can find it actually on her LinkedIn profile and many others that I keep enjoying. So before we started recording, you said if people are interested, you have a little bit of a reward or a little gift that you would be willing to offer them. Can you tell us how they can find it?
Well, as I said, I help people with their online personal brands. I've been talking about these people that are scared of posting, and it's funny because LinkedIn has 1 billion users, and only 95% of them never post anything, and 99% never post regularly. There is a massive opportunity there, but I always keep thinking of this 99%. Is it because they're too busy or is it because they're scared? Because I know how it feels to be on the other side, I created this little journey where I work a lot in the mindset for a content creator, starting from lurker. So you can join the journey for free in a website called yourfirstonlineclients.com. But also you can connect with me on LinkedIn. In my features section, you can have access to that as well. And I also help others that already have their online presence, but they are lost because that's another mistake we commit. We start our online business and then we start just spamming people. We don't know anything, a thing about storytelling or what to sell, how to build a nice offer, a nice profile. So I also help people redefine their personal brand. So you can find all the information there. And I also that if like the first 3 people that start working with me, they're interested in my help, I will give you a gift and I will write for you a script for DMs to approach your ideal client so you can start making sales from the first day.
Very good. Thank you so much, Carmen. Now, one quick thing before we close. I remember you told me one story where somebody started posting with your help and actually got some clients for something new that she was starting. Can you give her maybe 1 or 2 little examples?
Well, I always say that what I love in sales, like most people say, I hate selling. And I used to say the same. And now I regret those words so much because we all have struggled with something at some point in our life and we had seek for help. maybe in the shape of a book, maybe in a course or coaching or a psychologist, whatever. And maybe you are the solution for that person. You are what they are needing the most. And just because you're too scared to show it, to be there and say, hey, I'm here for you, they're missing that opportunity you were given when you were needing that help. So what I invite people to do is to share their unique word, their unique voice, because we all have a voice. And although it sounds like everybody's sharing the same information, no, because we all have a different way to see the world. We all have different experiences, different books we read and everything. So when I push people to start creating online, a lot of magic happens. They get opportunities to talk, speaking events. Like, for example, me in my first year was really scared. And what happened was lots of my previous co-workers, they reached out to me. I started making, like one company reached out to me to do workshops for them. Like a lot of magic started happening. And that I just don't know a single person that didn't have positive outcomes for that, like after they start sharing online. And for example, my last client, she was online but also you have to do it right. Like she was for 3 years already, and she was posting regularly, and she didn't get any clients. And I told her, look, honestly, it's because like I've known you for years now, and I still don't know exactly what you do. And it was true, because this is the other problem. Once you dare to post online, then you start sharing about personal growth, about whatever, things that make you entertaining. It doesn't bring anything concrete to you. Like, let's say you are on LinkedIn and you read this inspirational quote or whatever, and say, oh, that's nice. This person is nice, but you don't necessarily know what they can do for you or how they can solve a problem for you. So this is what I work with her. And although she wasn't scared of posting, but she had this problem of clarity. And after we rebranded her profile, in a month, she landed 2 high-ticket clients. So that's the magic of creating your personal brand, something that is directed to your ideal client. You start working with the people you love the most and getting paid for that. And yes, most new entrepreneurs are side hustle now, because unfortunately there is so much insecurity now at work with all recession after recession, that they want to feel that they have something that they can stick to in case they lost their job, or they just want to work in their passion.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also have spoken to quite a few people, both on the podcast and otherwise, who tell me that they have the impression that so many folks have seen somewhere in the media, in some way, in articles or videos or whatever, that start your online business, and with very little effort in very short amount of time, you have this additional income source, that it almost feels like, okay, everybody is doing it now, which on the other hand, well, if it's basically such a crowded market, then I need to have something solid, in parentheses, quote unquote, something solid or like a regular job that covers the majority of my expenses. Or what I'm curious about, I hear and read more and more people saying, I started this, maybe with the help of Carmen, and now it feels like the platform, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or TikTok or whatever the name of the platform is, somehow changed something, and the engagement and the recognition that I used to get is no longer there. Do you have some comments, some observations about that might be interesting for the audience?
Yeah, well, the algorithm on LinkedIn, they're changing it now. And is like people are having minimum half of the views they used to have at the best, and sometimes even 80% less. I'm not an exception. I am having my engagement is really low now, and I see many top creators having the same problem. It's even more evident on them, because they used to have like 5,000 likes, and now all of a sudden they have 500. Now, having said that, it depends on your goal on LinkedIn. If you want to be an influencer, that's a disaster recipe. Like your engagement, you're done. Now, what is really an influencer? And do you actually want to be an influencer? Because what I want to do, what I want to be is a business.
Right.
And there was a time that we opened our business in our city and we advertise our services on TV, radio, or newspaper. And sometimes we will get more people seeing the advertising or listening to it, and some other times we wouldn't. But it wasn't that we cared that much about it. We just had to be there somehow. So for me, content creation, of course, is flattening when you have a lot of views, but usually views doesn't really necessarily convert into money. What I'm creating, because I am a business, is a portfolio that stays on my profile. Because there is one thing for sure, when I find a new person on the platform, if I visit their profile and they have a banner that is just the template, the great template they have, the original had, and no content whatsoever, I think it might be an abandoned profile. So I lose interest in that person.
Right.
And maybe that person is a business that could be saving my life, but I just don't know. When someone visits my profile to see that I'm there for them, to have the feeling that if they send me a message, they're going to receive an answer. So I'm building my portfolio. And my approach on LinkedIn is not playing the big numbers. I actually don't have that many followers. I have less than 4,000 after 3 years. But I've been working thanks to LinkedIn since day one, because my approach is completely different. I go to work on building real connections. My LinkedIn is on the DMs, getting to know my connections deeply, getting to know how I can serve them best. So LinkedIn is the platform that does what you need it for you. If you're searching for numbers, the problem is that all these platforms that keep changing their algorithms, so it's really stressful. But if you have a business to offer, why would you care about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you describing it this way. And I want to, at the end of our conversation today, re-emphasize this a little bit with an experience that I have had the last few years. What we really do is we have a practice and not a business. I use the analogy to say, if you have a family physician and that practice is going really well, and they hire somebody fresh out of college to help them, if something hurts or you really need help, do you go to the guy they hired, or do you want to have your family physician who you know? And that's basically, in my opinion, the realization. If you want to build a business, you have to become aware, what is the capacity? And I'm telling this to say, yes, there are 1 billion people on LinkedIn, and you could theoretically imagine to serve thousands of them, and it would only be a 0. whatever percent. But in reality, it's not a matter of the percentage. It's really a matter of, what is my capacity to really do the service that I offer very well? And the numbers get really tiny. I think people need to realize this. And as soon as you start realizing that, if you had a really reasonably well-paying client, new one, once a month, within like 9 months, in my case, I would have 9 clients, basically, I would have to serve pretty much on a daily basis. They can send me 9 emails, 9 WhatsApps, 9 things that they need me to review. Just think about that. Constantly adding these insane amounts of numbers, which we believe we have to show success, is, in my opinion, just the wrong approach. So that's why I want to encourage everybody, reach out, and we put all the links and everything in the show notes for you, Carmen. So for people to reach out and say, how can I develop a profile and a personality and make people understand what you have to offer, oftentimes in addition to what your normal job is, as you look to, and I would love to use the term, build your practice, because I'm not so sure how many people are really out there who want to have a business that scales and has 100 employees and millions of revenue, and you basically can't do your job anymore because your job is your business and your other job is basically neglected. So Carmen, what do you think? Would we want to get people to build a practice?
Well, actually, you know how I call my offer? The Bermuda business. Because I say, you go to Bermuda while I build your business. but the ticket to Bermuda, unfortunately, is not included. But once you enter this, for example, this welcome sequence I'm making to help people start or redefine their personal brand, the first thing I write in the first email is welcome to the Bermuda family. And I call them Bermuders. And why I do that? Because for me, a Bermuder is a person that is not seeking growth for the sake of growth. They want to live a life. They are people who want to have financial freedom, but understand that the real luxury is not money, but time. So that's for me. And I learned that through burnout. So I know how hard it was, like to have a whole life living around business. And okay, I'm going to grow this business. Then I need to hire more people. So I have more responsibilities. Then I need more clients. Then this constant chase that only makes you unhappy. And I want business owning their owners. What I'm giving them is freedom.
Yep.
I'm giving you freedom to own your time, to spend thanks to a successful business. So you can have more free time and you can use that time to do whatever you want to do because you have money to afford it. And if you're wise with that money you're making, then you have financial advisors can help you invest that money wisely, so you don't even have to work anymore in the future. And that's why my offer starts with a wait list, because I don't want all of a sudden having like 10 people and not being able to honor my commitment to deliver in time. And I really want to enjoy the process with them. So yes, I am with you. I rather have 3 to 5 clients a month that I really enjoy the experience with. And the rest of the time I use it to get to know new people.
Yeah, absolutely.
To share my content, to write my books.
Yeah, and that's actually where our alignment comes from. And I think we're basically having the same approach. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show, to share it from the social media, online, getting out there perspective. And then basically on my end, we're basically helping people who generate the revenue to take some of it and invest it for the long term, so they don't have to necessarily keep that business or practice forever and ultimately get to what you just described. So one last time, Carmen, how can people find you?
Okay, so I'm on LinkedIn. All that journey is for free, and you can find it in firstonlineclients.com.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. And I mean, for those listeners who are a little older, if you know Carmen Ballesteros, the golf player, then you at least know how to spell the last name. Carmen, thank you so much for your time.
Just one little thing. When I was working in events management, there was this golf championship, international championship. And I was working there for a while. And then there was this international opera festival that I was working too there. And of course, in both events, the type of client was really high ticket. So when I was signing Carmen Ballesteros, that I knew as a fact the next email would start with, "Are you related to Severian?" Which I'm not, but funny enough, his daughter, her name is Carmen too. So we're both Carmen Ballesteros.
Yeah, sometimes the universe tries to help you in strange ways. Okay, thanks again, Carmen.
Thank you.